They walk among us. Your boss, your partner, even your best friend. Dark psychology experts have identified 10 micro traits that expose a manipulator instantly. By the end of this video, you'll have a human lie detector built into your brain. Imagine you're standing in a crowded room, surrounded by laughter and conversation. Everyone seems normal, right? But for a small percentage of people in that room, the social interaction isn't about connection. It's about data collection and power. They aren't looking for a friend. They're looking for an opening. Narcissism is more than just a big ego or a love for selfies. It is a profound structural difference in how a person processes emotions and relationships. To most of us, other people are three-dimensional beings with feelings. To a predator, other people are appliances. You don't care how your toaster feels as long as it gives you toast. That's exactly how a narcissist views your heart, your time, and your resources. But here's the good news. Because they are following a specific coding of behavior, they are predictable. They have tells, just like a poker player with a bad hand. If you know what to look for, their mask doesn't just slip, it falls off entirely. Let's start building your defense system, counting down from the subtle signs to the absolute dead giveaway. Coming in at number 10 is the unblinking stare. Normal human eye contact is a rhythmic dance. We look away, we blink, we process. It's a way of showing we are listening without being aggressive. A narcissist often uses what experts call the predatory gaze. They will lock onto you with an intensity that feels deeply uncomfortable, yet strangely magnetic. It's as if they are trying to download you. They aren't looking at you. They are looking through you to see what makes you tick. If you feel like a deer in headlights during a casual conversation, pay attention. That lack of a natural break in eye contact is a classic sign of someone trying to establish dominance early on. They want to see if you'll blink first, because in their world, the one who blinks is the one who can be controlled. Number 9 is a phenomenon known as the rapid disclosure. Have you ever met someone who, within 20 minutes, tells you their deepest traumas? Maybe they tell you about their crazy ex, their tragic childhood, or a secret no one else knows. Your instinct might be to feel honored that they trust you so quickly. You might think, wow, we have such a deep connection already. But in reality, this is a predatory tactic called forced intimacy. By sharing a secret, they create an unspoken debt. Now, you feel obligated to share something deep about yourself. This gives them a map of your vulnerabilities before you even know their last name. A healthy person builds trust like a brick wall, one brick at a time, over months or years. A manipulator tries to drop a prefab house on you in 30 seconds. If the pace of the friendship feels like a high-speed chase, it's time to hit the brakes. At number 8, we have small boundary testing. A predator won't start by stealing your money or ruining your reputation. They start small to see what you'll tolerate. Maybe they show up 10 minutes late without an apology, or they make a joke at your expense that feels just a little too mean. When you react, they'll say, "Oh, you're so sensitive. I was just kidding." This is a diagnostic test. They are checking the fences of your personality. If you let the small things slide, they know they can move on to the big things. Think of it like a hacker trying 1,000 different passwords. The moment you let them neg you or disrespect your time without a firm consequence, you've handed them the keys to the kingdom. Keep an eye on how they react when you say no to something trivial. A healthy person says, "Okay." A predator gets annoyed, defensive, or tries to guilt trip you. Number 7 is a verbal pattern that will drive you circles. The word salad. Imagine you ask a simple question like, "Why didn't you call me when you said you would?" A normal person says, "I forgot," "I'm sorry," or explains why they were busy. A narcissist, however, will give you a 20-minute speech that touches on their childhood, your past mistakes, the philosophy of time, and why your tone of voice is the real problem. By the end of it, you're so confused you've forgotten why you were upset in the first place. This is intentional. They use language as a smokescreen to avoid accountability. If they can't convince you, they will confuse you. The word salad is designed to exhaust your brain until you just give up and stop asking questions. If you find yourself needing a map and a compass just to finish a basic conversation, you aren't the problem. the person you're talking to is actively sabotaging the logic of the discussion to stay in control. Moving to number 6, the hero or the victim narrative. Listen closely to how they talk about their past. In every story they tell, they are either the absolute hero who saved the day or the tragic victim of someone else's cruelty. There is never a middle ground. They never say, "I messed up that project because I was lazy," or "the breakup was mutual." It's always, "My boss was jealous of my talent," or "My ex was a literal demon." This is a red flag because it shows a complete lack of object constancy. They cannot see people, including themselves, as a mix of good and bad. If they are always the victim, they are setting the stage for you to be their next rescuer, and eventually, when you inevitably fail to meet their impossible needs, you will become the next villain in the story they tell the next person. Pay attention to the villain count in their life. If everyone they've ever known is crazy, the common denominator is sitting right in front of you. Number 5 is a classic manipulation tactic, the blame shift. This is the psychological version of hot potato. No matter what happens, the blame can never land on them. If they cheat, it's because you weren't affectionate enough. If they lose their job, it's because the company was unfair. If they break a glass, it's because you put it in the wrong place. Watch for the "but" in their apologies. "I'm sorry I yelled, but if you hadn't provoked me, I wouldn't have had to." That isn't an apology. It's an accusation wrapped in a sorry wrapper. A narcissist's ego is so fragile that it cannot handle the weight of a single mistake. To them, admitting fault feels like death. So they project that fault onto you, making you carry the emotional weight of their failures. If you feel like you're constantly apologizing for things you didn't even do, you're being victimized by the blame shift. At number 4, we have triangulation. This is where the predator brings a third person into the dynamic to make you feel insecure. It might be an attractive coworker they suddenly mention all the time, or a best friend who always agrees with them and thinks you're being unreasonable. The goal is to create a competition for their attention. By making you feel like you have to win them, they increase their value in your eyes. Think of it like an auction. The item being sold might not even be that great, but the moment two people start bidding against each other, the price skyrockets. A narcissist loves to be the prize. If you find yourself feeling jealous or compared to others in a way that feels calculated, they are triangulating you. They want you focused on the rival, so you don't notice the manipulator pulling the strings. Healthy relationships are built on a foundation of 2. They don't need a rotating cast of characters to feel secure. Number 3 is the absence of empathy flicker. This one is subtle, but once you see it, you can never unsee it. It usually happens when you are sharing something painful, maybe a loss or a personal struggle. For a split second, look at their eyes when you think they aren't performing. You might see a flash of boredom, or worse, a tiny smirk of satisfaction. Psychologists call this duping delight. Because they don't feel empathy, your pain is just content to them. They might say the right words, "Oh, that's so sad," but their body language won't match. Their voice might remain flat, or their eyes might wander to their phone. The flicker is that moment the mask of the caring friend slips, revealing the cold engine underneath. It's the realization that while you are pouring your heart out, they are just waiting for their turn to talk. We are getting close to the top. Number 2 is hoovering, named after the vacuum cleaner. This is what happens when you finally try to leave or set a boundary. Suddenly, the person who was cold and mean becomes the person you first fell in love with again. They send "I miss you" texts, they promise to go to therapy, and they bring up the good old days. They are trying to suck you back into the cycle. This is one of the most dangerous traits because it plays on your hope. You want to believe they've changed. But remember, a predator doesn't change their nature. They only change their strategy. The moment they feel they have you back under their control, the hoovering stops, and the abuse starts again, often worse than before. If the only time they are nice to you is when you are halfway out the door, their kindness isn't love, it's a leash. Finally, we've reached number 1, the dead giveaway. This is a physical and psychological state that almost no normal human can fake. It's called the cold empathy shift. In a normal person, When we see someone we love in distress, our heart rate goes up, our pupils dilate, and we feel a physical urge to help. Our hot empathy kicks in. A narcissist has cold empathy. They can intellectually understand that you are crying and why you are crying, but they feel absolutely nothing. The dead giveaway happens during a conflict. You might be sobbing, shaking, or in visible emotional agony. You look at them, and they are sitting perfectly still, with a calm, almost robotic expression. They might even be eating or looking at their nails. This stillness, in the face of another person's extreme distress, is the hallmark of a predator. A normal human brain is wired to mirror the emotions of those around us. If I see you yawn, I want to yawn. If I see you cry, I feel a pang in my chest. A narcissist's brain doesn't mirror. That icy calm while you are breaking down is the ultimate proof that the human part of the connection is missing. It is the most chilling 30 seconds you will ever experience, and it is the only sign you need to know that it's time to walk away and never look back. Spotting these traits isn't about being paranoid, it's about being prepared. Once you see the patterns, the magic they use to control people disappears. You realize they aren't powerful or mysterious. They are just repeating a script. And once you know the script, you can choose not to play the role they've written for you. Trust your gut. If someone feels off, they usually are. Your intuition is a biological alarm system that has evolved over millions of years to keep you safe from predators. Don't let a word salad or a predatory stare talk you out of what you know to be true.